the news tonight, Suva-Nosori curfew extended to next Wednesday. Savu-Savu residents eager to get vaccinated. And COVID-19 affects Eid celebrations.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nunn.
Bulawinaka, Fiji. The rapidly rising contacts of COVID-19 cases in the Suva and Nosori containment areas has forced the government to extend the curfew from tomorrow right up to Wednesday. Last night, Health Permanent Secretary Dr. James Fong had announced that a full lockdown of Suva and Nosori would commence from 11 p.m. tomorrow until 4 a.m. Tuesday for the purposes of a widespread contact tracing exercise. This has changed in the last 24 hours, resulting in the lockdown being extended until Wednesday, the 19th of May at 4 a.m. Dr. Fong says medical teams will use this time to trace, identify and test as many contacts as possible, and if investigations reveal large numbers of contacts in other areas such as Lami, the lockdown order will extend to those areas.
That means we have more than 48 hours between now and when that lockdown measure will take place. That is more than enough time to prepare ourselves properly without causing mess, mayhem and disorder. You have 2 full days to manage your shopping and purchase food and other essential items for your home.
And just a quick note, that was the Permanent Secretary speaking last night and counting 48 hours of preparation time as of last night. Supermarkets in the Central Division have been busy for the 3rd consecutive day as people continue to flock in numbers, lining up outside supermarkets to do their shopping in preparation for a 3-day lockdown. Some Fijians told FBC News they want to be well prepared to ensure they have enough essentials throughout the lockdown period. Christiana Uluwai reports.
The uncertainty of COVID-19 has also affected people's buying pattern.
People are buying 3 to 4 times what they would normally buy, but it's not to the point where we don't have stocks available for the customers at this point in time.
The Fijian Competition and Consumer Commission reassures Fijians that there is enough stock in place.
There is no shortage of goods out there in the market. Right? Our shipping lines coming from overseas to Fiji has not been disrupted.
Some shoppers today urged others to be considerate and not panic buy.
You need to be a little bit prepared so that you can feed your family, not panic buying, but all the necessities for a couple of weeks or so.
Today, we just came here to get our stock prepared for Friday's lockdown.
I'm just buying the main things, sugar, rice and flour.
We are prepared with my son. I have faith that we will survive with this stock through the lockdown.
Waiting in long queues will be the new form of shopping for the foreseeable future, as Fiji continues its battle against COVID-19. Christiana Uluwai, FBC News.
Hundreds of residents from the greater Savu-Savu area have received their COVID-19 vaccination. This particular vaccination drive is for targeted high-risk groups, including frontline workers, those providing essential services, and Fiji's vulnerable population. Eleanor Turangaivu reports.
The second phase of the COVID-19 vaccination drive for the Northern Division is now into its 2nd day in Savu-Savu.
I just want to protect my family.
I want to go overseas, so I'm here to get vaccinated.
Priority for the vaccination is given to frontline workers, including civil servants who have been part of the contact tracing teams along with their families. Public service vehicle drivers, especially taxi drivers, bankers and individuals 60 years and over, as well as those with underlying medical conditions.
The virus is spreading really fast and we need to listen to the government advisory.
Some members of the public were turned away yesterday and told to return tomorrow.
I want to be safe. I don't want to get any disease.
Some officers were also on site reminding the residents to adhere to the COVID-19 safety protocols.
Please do your mask and maintain the distance. You will all be served, but comply to what is required of us from the Ministry of Health.
The program ends tomorrow with the vaccination of members of the public and will last until all doses are used up. Eleanor Turangaivu, FBC News.
Children's mental health is fragile and they react to stressful situations in different ways. Empower Pacific mental health specialist Prem Singh says they've been receiving calls from parents who've noted behavioral changes in their children. Kritika Kumar reports.
Empower Pacific has been assisting a lot of parents during this period to enforce positive parenting strategies.
Parents are concerned about, like I said, delinquent behaviors, or there's a drastic change in the behavior of a child, or they're going through showing some signs and symptoms of mild anxiety to severe anxiety.
Prem Singh says the uncertainty of the COVID-19 pandemic is causing a lot of people to feel anxious.
We are able to provide them with some effective coping strategies or positive disciplinary strategies that help us not only bond with their children but also change their parenting style.
Psychologist Selina Kuruleza says parents need to engage their children in creative educational activities that can help them during this period.
Mental health is very important, but food is also very important. So in this regard, we need to make sure that as much as possible we take care of people's basic needs first, which is food, shelter, clothing.
Kuruleza says parents also need to monitor how their children's behavior and mental health is, as it is important in developing young minds. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
Now quickly, the Permanent Secretary for Health, Dr. James Fong's briefing is now underway and we join Christiana Uluwai live. Christiana, what is the latest development?
Edwin, Fiji now record its fourth COVID-related death, the second in this recent outbreak. And so far, there are today 4 new confirmed COVID-19 cases, 2 of which are from Microbiologist and 2 admin staff at Fiji's CDC, and all of them are currently in isolation. Now, Microbiologist is currently an area of concern for the Health Ministry, given the rising number of cases coming out from this area. And today, testing at the CDC lab is currently on hold as the ministry is carrying out their decontamination process. The Fijians are urged to download the Care Fiji app and have it running, as it will enhance the contact tracing efforts of the Health Ministry. Today, Fijians are urged to practice the COVID-safe measures in place in order to protect yourself and your families. Edwin.
Vinaka Christiana. After 29 days of fasting and prayers, Muslims around the country are celebrating Eid al-Fitr today. However, for the second consecutive year, celebrations are affected by COVID-19, forcing people to celebrate within their households, unable to have guests over. Jeshulal reports some families are spending this Eid away from home.
An emotional Safira B says the inability to share the joy of Eid with their family and neighbors breaks the long-standing tradition of togetherness.
We were fasting the entire month and we expected our families to be here, but unfortunately they could not come due to the restrictions, and I'm also saddened that my children are away this Eid.
2020 was a little better. 20 people gatherings were allowed, so family and friends were coming. There was no border lockdown, and friends and families were also coming. But this year is totally different. It doesn't seem like we are having our Eid function. It's just within our bubbles.
Men who normally go to the mosque or masjid to pray during Eid have had to adjust to the new circumstances, praying from home.
This year we could not go to the masjid to offer our prayers, and we listened to the radio to do our prayers.
During Eid, Muslims normally open their home to all Fijians to partake in their celebration in the spirit of oneness. However, for this year, most families will be ending the Eid celebrations in their own bubble. The spirit of Eid is very much alive still, as people show their support and send well wishes to their Muslim friends and family. Jeshulal, FBC News.
Up ahead, businesses urged to form a united front. And COVID advisories must be taken seriously. Welcome back. Fijians are being reminded not to be swayed by rumors and misinformation as the country battles a growing outbreak of COVID-19. Permanent Secretary for Health Dr. James Fong says his evening updates contain the latest up-to-date information. Dr. Fong had earlier highlighted that receiving the latest data sometimes means having to delay the briefing. However, this does not mean that people should turn to social media.
We keep the public updated as best as we can on a rapidly evolving situation. My statements and the Fijian government Facebook page are the official sources of all COVID-related information. Use them to stay up to date. Rumors, gossip and unverified information will only lead us down a very much darker path.
Retail associations and chambers of commerce around Viti Levu are calling on people to be united and work together to protect each other from COVID-19. With many businesses across the main island closed, the few that remain open are working to adhere to strict guidelines and help their customers do the same to stop the spread of the virus. Lina Rees reports.
Now into their fourth week as a containment zone, many businesses in Nadi are closed to comply with the advice by the Health Ministry.
You would have expected with over 80% of business houses being closed altogether. And it's only the essential services are being provided.
The businesses that do remain open in the tourist town want all its customers to follow the COVID-19 safety measures.
Take maximum precautions as not to travel to town or other areas if they don't have to. So, if they don't move, the virus doesn't move.
The Fiji Chamber of Commerce says businesses are dealing with a stressful situation as they're going through tough times, sorting out employment issues and re-strategizing with the changes in revenue for various businesses. The Chambers of Commerce in Lautoka, Naranga, Novosa and Nosori are also pleading with employees and the general public to adhere to the guidelines so Fijians can be safe again and the employment of people does not suffer any more than it has to. Lina Rees, FBC News.
Details about the food ration helpline will be announced by the Ministry of Health tonight. Acting Permanent Secretary for Economy, Shiri Gounder, confirmed to FBC News that PS for Health Dr. James Fong will inform the public about how the service will work. During the last lockdown, a similar helpline assisted 4,430 families receive ration packs. Permanent Secretary for Health Dr. James Fong confirmed last night that there will be provisions made for those who may run out of essentials.
For those who genuinely need an emergency food supply in the latter part of the curfew, we are going to set up another dedicated hotline for you to call so that food rations can be delivered to you. We have details to announce on that number tomorrow.
The Ministry of Health has warned more stringent measures will come into play in the coming days for Fijians required to self-isolate. Permanent Secretary for Health Dr. James Fong highlighted this as there are concerns that people directed to self-isolate are not adhering. Apani Sawangai Randovu spoke to the Rawalai siblings from Tailevu who went through 14 days of home isolation.
Fijians who continue to flout protocols and fail to isolate when advised are being warned.
I think it's not so much what the ministry will do now, it's more what our security forces will have to start doing. And I have been in a few meetings where they are now working and solidifying this need to enforce the COVID-19 measures.
Tailevula Sala Rawalai shared a bit of her experience after emerging from a 14-day of home isolation.
It wasn't easy, but we had to obey whatever was said and stick by it in order for us to be able to overcome whatever it is that was being said.
Rawalai says it is important that people aren't selfish when advised to self-isolate, as lags could be more risky.
It's not just for our own benefit, but also for the benefit of those around us. Our dad's brothers across the road that came over, helped also bringing food rations, but they couldn't bring it right to the door.
The Rawalai siblings went to Lautoka after dropping their parents at the airport. Following this trip, they were advised to self-isolate without their parents, lasting for over 3 weeks and just recently cleared by health officials. Apenisong Grandobu, FBC News.
On to other news quickly. The Fiji Pine Limited Board has approved a dividend payout of $6 million for this financial year. In consultation with the Prime Minister, the board has also restructured both how and when the money is to be allocated. These changes with immediate effect have been put in place to provide relief to families struggling with the economic duress caused by COVID-19. The changes are that the 100% of the amount will be distributed to landowners through TLTB's equal distribution system, and the $6 million payout will be divided into 3 equal payments of $2 million each. Under normal circumstances, the dividend announcement is in August. Fiji Pine says this year, and in particular in the past month, it's been exceptionally difficult for Fijians.
Routine inspections by the Fijian Competition and Consumer Commission has noted more compliance by businesses since the implementation of COVID-19 safety measures. The FCCC completed 942 inspections across all the major divisions. Chief Executive Joel Abraham says the inspections included stock and supply of essential items, as well as ensuring that businesses and traders are following the health and safety measures. He adds they are happy that more instances of compliance has been noted this year. He is also urging consumers to refrain from panic buying or overstocking items, as the survey revealed that there are more than enough food items and essential cleaning products available in stores.
It leads to more people purchasing a lot more than what is needed. So not only is it a waste of money, because some of these items are perishable and it will go bad, but it also creates shortages in the short term because it creates supply chain disruptions.
The Fiji National Provident Fund is introducing a short code and mobile numbers in an effort to minimize costs for its members. The short code 5857 and mobile phone contacts for both members and the employer helpline will go live from Monday. These new contact modes have been activated as part of the fund's business continuity plan to ensure services, while limited, will continue to be available for key stakeholders. Here, the local exchange rates are set early this morning. The Fiji dollar was pegged higher against our 2 major trading partners, the Aussie and Kiwi dollars, as well as the PNG kina and the Japanese yen. It lost ground against the Chinese yuan, US greenback and the euro. Prices were mixed on the commodities market. Crude oil rose a few cents at $65 a barrel. Gold dropped to $1,820 per ounce. And silver closed down at $27.28 per ounce. We now join Sinifa from HFC Bank to give us the latest Aussie figures from the money markets.
Thank you, Whitney, and good evening. The global rating agency Fitch praised the Australian budget announced earlier in the week. Australia's budget, presented by the government on 11th May, confirms that the recent strong economic and labour market recovery has resulted in an improvement in public finances. This certainly is a positive sign for the country's AAA rating, provided the recovery remains on track. However, this news was not enough to push Aussie's currency demand. Meanwhile, in US, a bigger than expected increase in their consumer prices has put investors on high alert. US April CPI rose 4.2% from a year earlier, making it the fastest rise since September 2008. While the monthly gain in core inflation was the largest since 1981, coming in at 0.8%. The focus now shifts to US weekly jobless claims due later tonight, and the US retail sales to be out tomorrow night. Better than expected figures could give yet another boost to the greenback. It will also help determine whether consumer prices will continue to rise in the US. That's all for now from HFC Bank. Vinaka.
Most businesses engaging with Fiji through the E-Trade Expo expressed great interest in health and cosmetic products, among others. Investment Fiji says some of the most sought-out products include food and beverages, manufactured goods, business process outsourcing, and fashion and apparel. Over 60 Fijian companies are virtually exhibiting their products through the Fiji China Trade Expo launched earlier this week. Fiji has had positive responses for some of the countries like Australia and New Caledonia engaging with Fiji through the virtual trade expo. The expo provides an opportunity for other countries to explore investment projects available in Fiji. That is the latest from my end, but coming up after the break, US commends Fiji's climate change commitment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Voreqe Bainimarama has sought United States Presidential Envoy on Climate Change John Kerry to support improving small island developing states' access to climate finance. The Prime Minister, while holding virtual discussions with Kerry, acknowledged his leadership and contribution in shaping U.S. bilateral relations with Fiji and the Pacific region. Bainimarama says Fiji looks forward to working with the U.S. in seeing more countries present their revised nationally determined contributions during COP26, scheduled to take place later this year. He also called for support in the development of an integrated climate action narrative where oceans, biodiversity, desertification, energy and food systems are brought together cohesively. In reaffirming the strong partnership between the two countries, Special Envoy Kerry acknowledged Fiji's vast experience in climate change diplomacy, saying it will be crucial to drawing more global support for deeper and bolder climate action. In an age where technological advancements are prominent, engaging children in rugby development programs are critical in ensuring the nation's love for the sport lives on. The Fiji National Rugby League is taking a lead role in teaching young children the ropes of the sport. Jeshulal reports this is also a form of physical exercise for children.
I like rugby league.
In a digitalized world where many children are turning to technology, these kids have been passionate about playing rugby.
Well, it helps the children because it gives them an outlet other than particularly heading off to do things that they shouldn't be doing.
I love rugby league because it makes me train a lot.
Young kids are taught the basic rugby skills at a young age so that they can master the art of rugby and achieve their dreams of possibly representing the country in the future.
What we lack of is probably the basics of the game. Rugby league, it's from catch and pass, the minor or the basics that most players overlook. How to catch, how to pass the ball.
These aspiring rugby stars get their inspiration from our local rugby players, who has taken the standard of rugby to another level. Jeshulal, FBC News.
And in Q&A tonight, Eleanor Turangaivu speaks with Professor Jay Browning in Savu, a microbiologist who's taught in several New Zealand and Australian universities in the field of medicine.
Mr. Browning, what are your thoughts about the vaccination drives happening around the country?
I think Fiji has to do more about exposing it and arguing against it. And we need the leaders of the faiths. And I saw the leader of the Methodist Church come out for vaccination the other day. We need all the different faiths and the Muslims. We need all the people. We can get high-powered people to say, I've taken the vaccine, take the vaccine, because it's the only thing that's going to save Fiji. We don't have enough oxygen. We don't have medical facilities to handle thousands of cases.
How effective is this vaccination?
It depends on the vaccine. Johnson & Johnson is a single dose, and it's very effective. Many of the others are 2 doses. The first one stimulates the immune system, like I've had it, so I can still get COVID, but my chance of dying from it are reduced almost to 0. But I can still get it. The second dose gives the immune system another hit, it boosts it, And by the end of the second dose, the chance of me transmitting COVID or suffering from it is very small.
Is it essential to take the second dose?
Yes, there's an argument that because the first dose is protective, that don't concentrate on the second dose. But see, for people like me, who are older and stuff, but otherwise healthy, to get the second dose means that we actually then, the ones who get the second dose, could actually then work. I would be willing then to work with COVID people if I had to. If they said they've run out of transport when I live in the bush, I'd say, well, you can use my wheelbarrow in my truck. I've got my double dose, and my chances of getting infected are maybe 5%. 5 in 100 might get infected still, but not die from it anymore because we've got antibodies. And so those of us who get double doses will actually be able to function in the community a lot more effectively.
And Jamie's here now with all the latest in sports.
Thank you and good evening. In sports tonight, frightening experience for national footballer. And judoka keeps Olympic hopes alive. This and more coming up. First up in sports tonight, with the situation unfolding in Israel at the moment, Fiji's first professional woman footballer, Trina Davis, shares what she and her teammates had to go through last night when Tel Aviv was under attack by Hamas militants. Davis, who plays for ASA Tel Aviv, was getting ready for practice when militants launched fresh rocket attacks. Speaking exclusively to FBC Sports, Davis says that she and her teammates heard the bombs exploding from a distance and took cover under the nearest tree and under the stadium. Davis, who is currently with family in Israel, says this has been one of the scariest moments of her life. The Kaiviti Silktails is trying its best to adapt to the new rules introduced by International Rugby League. The 6-again rule that was introduced late last year sees the referee award a fresh set of tackles instead of a penalty for offences around the ruck. Venina Rakautonga reports.
The limited time to adapt to the rule did not deter the Silktails.
The 6-again rule, that would have been the biggest part to adjust to. But then, they brought in that rule to speed up the game over here in the NRL. Whether FNRL want to adapt those rule changes. I know they currently play with the international rules.
Player Sunyana Ruma says not having learned too much about the rule at home, it was quite a challenge.
A lot of new rules we learned compared to Fiji. First, it was hard learning the 6-again rule, but it will help us going forward playing league. The changes in rules and the pace, we learn every day. I didn't dream that I would reach this far, and I'm just taking every moment as it comes.
Judoka Tevita Takeawa is another athlete expected to join Team Fiji for the Tokyo Olympic Games this year. Japan-based Takeawa recently left for Paris, France to prepare and compete in qualifying tournaments. Arsenal have put a dent in Chelsea's English Premier League top 4 hopes following its 1-0 win in their London derby this morning. The game's only goal came courtesy of a horror pass. For the second year in a row, a New Zealand sailor has won the Finn Gold Cup. Andy Maloney taking the World Championship title in Portugal this morning. In today's play of the day, Amniasi Mamba came out firing for Pau on Sunday against Agen in the France top 14, scoring the first try 8 minutes into the game. In our quirky sport of the day, people throwing fish, the official name of the sport, tuna tossing. As foreign as it sounds, the sport is actually played not too far from Fiji. That's it from sports tonight, but coming up in Weird and Wonderful, a look at some benefits of having a furry friend around the house. This and more after the break.
Cloudy periods with brief showers over the eastern parts in the interior of the larger islands, mainly fine weather elsewhere. Fine weather prevailed over the western division today, eastwards from Pacific Harbour to Suva, mostly cloudy with some showers. In the north, partly sunny with cloudy conditions. At sea, southeast winds 20 to 25 knots, rough seas, moderate southeast swells. The next low tide is at 1:52 a.m. with high tide at 8:01 a.m. Sunrise is at 6:24. The outlook for tomorrow, cloudy periods with brief showers over the major islands. And for Saturday, cloudy periods with brief showers over the eastern parts and the interior of the larger islands. And in the world of the weird and the wonderful, adopting a pet for the first time is not an easy feat, as many often feel they are not responsible enough to have a furry friend around the house. While having a pet has proven to give a sense of calmness, many weren't anticipating spending so much money on their furry friends. And recapping our main stories, one of the COVID-19 patients has died. There are 4 new cases confirmed today. 2 are from Makoi and 2 are administration staff from the Center for Disease Control, where testing for COVID-19 is conducted. And the curfew between Suva and Nosori has been extended until next Wednesday. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station, Gold FM. To our poll question this week, we are asking, has the extended school break resulted in more screen time for students? Visit our FBC News website to answer. You can also send us newsworthy pictures and videos. Email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts, including Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. You can also download our FBC app to keep updated with the very latest in news and sports and listen to our 6 radio stations live. That's your news this evening. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe. Modemata.